Hey guys, we are live. This is our second Sipping Through Social Isolation video cast. And this time we brought some friends along with us. I am Bill Straw from ModernThirst.com. And I'm going to go around the horn here and let people introduce ourselves. We're going to have other Bill join us here in just a second too. He's having some login issues. So I guess next on mine is Scott.
Hey, Bill, thanks for having me on tonight. Appreciate it. So I'm Scott from the YouTube channel, My Bourbon Journey. So basically what I do there is a lot of reviews of, for the most part, bourbons, rye, American-style whiskeys, things along those lines. So, check it out.
And tell us when you talk about yourself, tell us what you're drinking tonight.
So right now I've got a little bit of the Lux Row. This is their distillery only, the double barrel 12-year. So I got that last, I think, November when I was there, and for me it was fantastic. It was already really good at the distillery, and then once it opened up, it truly got even more delicious than it was before. So one of my favorite ones. I think this actually finished second for me in my 2019 Whiskey of the Year video. So
nice. What was number one?
It slips my mind. I don't know. I don't remember what number one was. Actually, number one was the first release of the 4-Gate. It wasn't. It was absolutely fantastic. I think you already know a lot of people really, really enjoyed that one. So I mean, for me, the complexity of it was. It was everything that everybody I think really wants in a fantastic bourbon. So kudos to you.
I love it when people butter up the host.
Yeah. Hey, you asked the question. I wasn't going to volunteer that.
Wes, you're next.
I am Wes, and I write for Modern Thirst. I'm the World Whiskies writer. And tonight I am drinking some Ardbeg 19-year-old Trayvon. And just crack that open, and also supporting a local distillery in Colorado Springs, 291 Distilleries High Rye. It's a 2-year-old release that is 60.9% alcohol. So those are the two.
Heard some good things about their stuff.
We'll go clockwise here. Next we have Craig.
Thank you, sir. Craig Anthony, Louisville Bourbon Hounds admin, former BSM admin. Tater of taters, crotch shot innovator. Tonight I am drinking. Starting bottom shelf. Talk about it a lot. JTS bottled and bond. Love it. So can't beat a plastic half gallon for $20, right?
Amen.
No way.
And so then I will graduate up to the highly coveted Black Glencairn. And I will put my this year's GTS in that. And then just for funsies, so we recently did a 20 bottle blind OWA tasting. And so this was the winner. It's a Liquor World 175 Old Label OWA. Beat out all the other private barrel OWAs. Actually, what was ironic about that blind was plain old vanilla OWA. New label came in second over all these private labels, or private barrels. So that was pretty funny. But anyhow, thank you, gentlemen. It's a pleasure hanging out with all of you tonight.
Awesome. Next up, good old boy Mike.
Hey, everybody, it's good old boy Mike from Sips, Suds, and Smokes. I'm the executive producer of this radio show and podcast. We've been on for about 8 years. It's a weekly show. It's on, we are every Friday, but it's broadcast on a couple of hundred radio stations that we are on at our power hour, which is 2 a.m. We are the best thing on at 2 a.m. So, I really enjoyed hanging out the other night with the Modern Thirst crew, even though I was on the chat session. But it was great to come on this side of the conversation tonight.
Banned once again.
Yeah, always. So the thing I'm drinking tonight is I've gone I got a class to join up tonight. I got my ascot, I got my smoking jacket on, and all these chumps are going to be drinking American whiskey, except for Wes and I.
And you are smoking in that smoking jacket. I'm just going to say.
I've gone Japanese. I haven't heard any of the Japanese dropping dead, so I'm going to go with the Japanese to fight off the scourge of COVID. So there you go.
Next is Bill Scott.
Good evening, guys. I'm Bill Scott. I work with Modern Thirst, and I tend to offer both tech support and graphics and creative support. And I don't have anything nearly as cool as that smoking jacket, so I'm just going to just sit here in absolute wonder of the amazement that thing is. And tonight I am drinking. Well, what day is today? Today's Thursday, so it is officially for me Taylor Thursday.
Oh, there you go.
So,
like that promotion. That works.
Very nice.
Yeah, so
I forgot to mention what I was drinking. So you guys aren't the only ones drinking non-American stuff. I've got the Glenfiddich 19.
Oh, that's right.
Bourbon Cask Reserve in one glass here with my Modern Thirst coin, which we'll make a pitch for here again in a second. I'm drinking a little Four-Gate Batch 3 and Old Blue here, my blue Glencairn. That's a Foundation, the unfinished straight bourbon.
Well, I'm using.
While I'm at it, I want to make a pitch again for our coins, because if you haven't had a chance to try either the Four-Gate Foundation batches, if you buy a coin on ModernThirst.com for $10, there's only 100 of these made, and we're only selling about 80 of them because we kept the rest of them because we like them. But we're going to draw based on that number, so I'm keeping track of everybody who orders a coin. I'm writing down your number, and I'm going to draw. Whoever I draw is going to get a bottle of Four-Gate Batch 5 Foundation absolutely free, sent straight to you from us. So we're waiting until all those coins are sold out before we do the drawing. So ModernThirst.com/shop if you want a chance at that. Anyway, thanks for coming tonight, guys. This is kind of our therapeutic session to help us through the boredom of social isolation. We're on, I guess, day 6, depending on when you really started this. Last weekend, and I am bored out of my mind, and I want to sell my kids. They're obnoxious. My first real anecdote of the whole thing started this morning. I went to mail out some coins at the local post office here, stopped to get gas, and then ran to Academy Sports to get some dumbbells for my wife to do her virtual workouts now. And about 5 people in the front of the store and about 100 people gathered around the gun counter in the back, buying them out of everything they have. So it's getting a little weird out there. Everybody stay safe. I guess wear your Kevlar and, be smart, wash your hands, drink a lot of high proof bourbon. It cleanses you from the inside. So I'm told. So,
yeah, it was just a matter of time before the whole gun thing got going.
Yeah. But then you went and bought ammo yourself.
Fear of missing out, man. FOMO.
Well, right. While you're there, right?
I mean, it was everyone else was in the back, and they were wheeling.
Everybody could use an extra case of ammo.
I did the same thing. I did the same thing. I went to Bass Pro today in Clarksville, and we're planning, as crazy as it sounds, next week was spring break. Initially, we were going to go to Gatlinburg, but everything's shutting down there. We were still going to take the travel trailer to Smoky Mountains National Park, but it's going to piss and pour all week next week. So we decided, okay, we'll go to Clark State Forest here in Clark County. They got a shooting range there. They got hiking trails. We'll do all that. We have a kind of newly purchased 12 gauge. And of course, my 16-year-old, who's all about the first person shooters and all that, he's just foaming at the mouth to fire that thing, to shoot it. So
real first person.
Right, exactly. So I went to when we got it, I got several boxes of double-aught buckshot, and but that's too much for the range, and so the range doesn't want you to have anything more than number 8 target shot. So went over to Bass Pro. Of course, they got plenty of that, but just like the toilet paper aisles look in grocery stores, the ammo aisle looked in Bass Pro. Just picked over, bare. I would say there was a line, because the Bass Pro, the gun area is second floor all the way in the back. The line was extending out all the way out of the gun section into like the middle of the second floor. Like people have just got, which I had to laugh because people are gobbling up handguns, but there's no ammo to be had for your handguns because it's all bought up.
Right.
Yeah.
But was the line so long because of the social distancing? They were all maintaining at least 6 feet distance, right? No?
Social distancing was not a thing. So
no, okay. Well,
why? Because
then they're all going to get it.
Yeah, because America and guns. So
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, you know, I've been thinking maybe we should all ease up just a little bit on those people with the toilet paper thing. I don't know about the ammo thing so much, but the toilet paper thing, because we all know that the biggest assholes need the most toilet paper.
Right.
Well, I just figured I bought the ammo. It comes from my toilet paper.
Well, if you have enough ammo, you don't have to worry about going to get toilet paper. Somebody else bought it for you.
Yeah, you just shoot them and take their toilet paper. It's a tactic.
I did not say that. You said that. I did not say that.
Everybody's got to have a plan.
Yeah. I'll just throw it out there now, though. I could use some more double aught buckshot, so we'll trade a bottle for double aught buckshot.
Of JTS Brown?
Anybody listening? Yeah, JTS Brown. OGD 114. OGD 114 for double aught buckshot.
Actually, the Chief Tater actually comes up with a deal in the first 6 minutes of this thing. That is funny.
Tater is as Tater does, my friends.
Unbelievable.
So what's everybody else been seeing out there? You guys been out and about any at all today? Mike, I know you said you were out earlier.
Yeah, so I got a interesting story from today. So my wife also sent me out on a mission today. She was like, we have this crazy cat that was staying with us that for some reason wanted to dig a hole in the drywall. This is a psycho cat. I don't know what. Anyway, so I was repairing, the hole, and I had to go get some paint for the final step. And she was like, "Oh, well, you're going out. Oh, well, why don't you go get a couple of things for me?" And I'm like, "Wait a second. Just because I'm venturing out with all the zombies does not mean that I'm going to run around town and try to get bit." So, but I was also out of propane, so I knew I was going to go, by the grocery store. So anyway, long story about chasing down her items on the list, multiple grocery stores. But the thing that really got to me today is I have to admit that one of my comfort foods is banana ice cream, and it's specifically Ben & Jerry's Chunky Monkey. So I walk over to the ice cream counter, and I'm standing there, and all of you fuckers have taken my banana ice cream. There was not one single pint of Chunky Monkey. What is with you people taking all the toilet paper and all of the banana ice cream? Could you just not leave like one pint for me?
Maybe when the store realized they were out of toilet paper, they intentionally took the banana ice cream out as a favor to you. As
trading capital. So all of the flavors that they left have been, there was only one flavor that was in this entire case. It was like coconut 7-layer. I don't even know what that is. That sounds horrible. That sounds like a bad nacho dip. I couldn't believe it. I'm like, so first it was toilet paper, and then they took all of the chicken, and now the banana ice cream is gone. This is truly the apocalypse is coming. I have to step out of this,
Chunky Monkey is the shit, I will just say.
That's what I'm saying, yes. I really think if you're going to go down, go with good ice cream in hand,
I mean, in light of this pandemic, like I'm keto would not normally let me have Chunky Monkey, but at this point, it's like, and it's into the world, right? No, it's not that bad. But
for me, for Ben & Jerry's, it'd be Cherry Garcia. So
yeah,
oh hell yeah, I'm down with the Cherry Garcia.
Yeah, I'm not a cherry ice cream kind of guy, but my wife is, and I usually get her Cherry Garcia. I usually get myself some Chunky Monkey, But I was just sitting there flabbergasted. I was standing there in front of an empty ice cream case, just staring at these empty shelves, going, "What?"
Now, Chubby Hubby is the one with like pretzels and peanut butter, isn't it? Chubby Hubby is pretty legit too. Or maybe that's just me. Maybe I'm a chubby hubby, but no.
And I like this is going to be a Ben & Jerry's video.
Works as well.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah. So I just I really wonder, what the world's going to come to. I had a Nashville moment today. So I'm in Nashville today, by the way, everybody. So I go to when I went to the paint store, I'm walking in the paint store, only guy in the paint store, just me and the one guy that was working in there, and I was telling him the story about the crazy cat and stuff. And I turn around, and there is a guitar hanging on the wall with a pick, up in the fretboard, and I'm like, wow. And I'm like, is that like a guest guitar? And he goes, well, yeah, man, we're in Nashville. People just stop by and songwriters and, they have to sit in here and pick for, a couple hours and stuff. And I'm like, that is so Nashville all the way, man.
Wow.
How many people would go to a Porter paint store and have a guitar hanging out so you can just, sit around and pick and jam with people? That is so Nashville. I can't even begin to tell you. I
heard Elvis liked Porter paints. I heard that.
Elvis.
Are they sending you a check?
Right. Porter paints. No.
Yeah, there you go.
I got a living room to paint, y'all. Let's go.
That's right.
So Scott, what's the mood up there?
It's I'd say it's a lot the same. I mean, I think it's just the lack of information, and I mean, I guess in terms of like understanding or getting the type of information like we really want. 'Cause I mean, it seems like the last few days have been a lot the same, where you're kind of getting the runaround. There's no answer for anything. I mean, it's just the schools are shut down. Everything's in different bars. You can only get takeout stuff. You can't go and dine anywhere. So I think a lot the same. I mean, yeah, there was the run on TP and all that good stuff, and it's starting to kind of calm down a little bit. But like Craig said before, it is. I mean, now up here you're getting to the point where people are starting to freak out a little bit more with the guns and all that kind of stuff. So, I mean, it's just, I think it's the natural progression of this thing, the fear of the unknown,
Yeah.
So
I
sure.
will say that there was a release and it's happened in a few different places, where Louisville Metro Police said they're no longer going to respond to calls about theft and a handful of other things. Everyone took that to mean that they were no longer going to be policing those crimes. And it basically meant that if you find that your car's been broken into, call and file a police report, but they're not going to come out and investigate it until later, essentially.
Yeah.
True.
Because in your house, they're breaking into your house at the moment, you can call in and they'll show up and do the police stuff. But otherwise, unless it's urgent, they're not going to come. So I think people got scared and ran out and bought some guns because of that.
Yeah. Well, like Jimmy the Kid said in the chat, martial law. I mean, it's kind of getting to the point where if nobody's going to be told exactly how things are going to be and what we can all expect, I mean, I think people start getting into the mode where you're going to need to basically self-defend and being now I'm in the state of Wisconsin. There's no shortage of guns up here. So, I mean, it is what it is. Everybody's, anticipating. You hope it doesn't ever get to that point where people start to have nothing and then try to go to people's homes. But I mean, at the end of the day, that's a major concern, I think, for a lot of people,
I think fear mongering can easily take over in this situation.
Yeah, no doubt.
And I also think so. Like doomsday preppers are totally getting their nut off right now. Like that's totally happening. And so
I told you.
I think right. And so I think speaking as a Hoosier, I think that Kentucky's governor is killing it when he comes on and does his 5 o'clock news conferences. Like, he's very calm. He comes off Andy Bashir comes off very real, and tries to calm everyone down. And so today, I mean, the theme was, look, do not buy into fake news. If you are getting your information from someplace that is trying to instill fear and get you riled up, it's not real. It's not fact-based. The National Guard is not being deployed. So to the point about martial law, like that's, yes, right. Like declaring a national emergency, states declaring a state of emergency, like it sets the foundation for them to be able to say, all right, businesses, like you close up, or we're going to impose a curfew or things like that. But also I think it's very easy for folks to get like carried away, like to sort of hypothesize what the next thing's going to be. Oh, next thing's going to be martial law, and we're going to be locked down, and I got to get my guns. Like, it's very easy to just kind of to take the leap and go off the deep end, and for people not to kind of moderate that. So I think you got to not let fear rule in this situation. I mean, we've been through, some of us, old farts, like we've been through 9/11. We've
Michael Jackson videos,
right? Michael Jackson videos. We were through. Here's one of the things that came to my mind was
Cher.
Back in the, oh my God, if I could turn back time. Right. One of the things that pops in my head was back in like the late 90s, when I was in college working at Sam's Club. It was you remember when you had, this was not that far back, but when we had the Mayan scare, and I was like, oh, end of the world's coming, the Mayan calendar, and that's when you really started seeing these doomsday prepper shows and all this shit, right? So before that, there was the Nostradamus prediction. So it's like late 90s. I'm working at a Sam's Club in Evansville, Indiana, and I can remember folks just coming in and just hoarding shit up, just like what you see nowadays. Just had the flatbed carts full of TP and meat and food and all that shit because of the Nostradamus prediction. And
Y2K.
Right?
Y2K,
even that. Well, we all know Y2K didn't happen because old school coders are some bad mofos and saved us from Y2K. Like, we know that's why it didn't happen anyhow. But that's the thing. So this is the next generation's thing to get freaked out about and go and FOMO up and hoard up at the store and all that. We're going to get through it. It's not going to be as bad as what you think. It sucks that we're all trying to avoid this bug that we're ill prepared for. I will also say, and then I'll shut up. So there is and I'll do some research here to get the actual title, but there's a great CNN documentary on Amazon about pandemics from 2009, 2012, whenever the height of the Ebola stuff was. And really it talks to how unprepared we were for Ebola and H1N1 way back in the day. And because, getting prepared for a pandemic is such a politically charged thing, it's not a thing that our government necessarily does. It gets quagmired in the politics. And so we've been unprepared for a pandemic for quite a long time. And we like dodged bullets and quickly got our shit together for H1N1 and even for Ebola. But, it was just like we were kind of biding our time. So it's a very kind of prophetic sort of documentary, just about how world governments as a whole deal with pandemics. Just like funding gets deprioritized, and then all of a sudden, we're caught with our pants down. Like, we need to hurry up and get a vaccine. We need to hurry up and get some testing that can happen. So eventually it will catch up, and we'll get on top of it. But at the meantime, we just need to kind of manage the fear. And I will get this social isolation, this sucks.
It's also not super helpful in terms of managing fear because we tend to get worse in our own heads.
Right. And what? How far can I go? How far can I push it to flatten the curve? What the hell is flattening the curve? What is that? That's the latest infographic and the catchy thing on social media and in the news, right? Your average Joe, I'm gonna flatten the curve with my 12 gauge. Woo, America! Right? No, I mean that's it.
More birdshot,
right? Birdshot. Yeah, BBs.
Well, let's given all this, let's give people something else to think about than coronavirus.
You betcha.
Thank God.
Whiskey. I am sipping this Glenfiddich 19-year-old. I'm typically not a Scotch guy. Wes actually kind of got me into it a little bit.
Shocking.
It's grown a little bit. This stuff is it is the most orchard fruit thing I've ever tasted in my life. It is like apple juice in a glass. It's crazy.
It's a bourbon appletini.
It's a bourbon teeny.
Or Scotch appletini.
Yeah.
I love that. The Unseen Enemy is a CNN documentary. That's funny.
Well, I've already gone through the Ardbeg 19-year-old Quaran. Just opened it. and then went back to what I opened last time we were on, which was the Ardbeg Black committee release, just to try to compare them. One of them's about $150. One is $300. And if I had to tell you which one I think is better at this point, I would go the cheaper route.
Woo!
I think the Ardbeg Black takes it.
I cannot confirm or deny that we were part of some of the selection process of the committee this year. So that's a really fascinating process that they do at Ardbeg, with those products. And, Dr. Bill does a great job of, really giving some really great choices, to work with, for those products. And I love what they've done with drum, year over year. But I have to say that the 19, that is a super solid, product for sure. I'm with you. The black at that price point, it's going to be difficult for people to go, oh yeah, that's 3 times better.
And the black this year is actually the most expensive of the committee releases of recent.
Yes, it will be.
I think for me, the 19-year-old just needs to open up a little bit.
Yeah, and that's just a supply and demand issue, around that product. It's really not a quality, thing that's really going on. It's purely a supply and demand. I mean, they don't have enough of the, to create that blend, across a larger base of bottles to spread out that cost. So that's the reason why. Yeah.
Just a side note, those that were commenting Unseen Enemy, that is the actual title of the documentary on Amazon. So
well, there. Yeah. I thought I didn't know. I was laughing at the comments. So that was actually the name of it. Okay.
That's the actual name, and it's pretty cheap. So anyhow, sorry. I do not get a kickback if you rent Unseen Enemy. Just
So, Mike, real quick, what do you think of the core range of Ardbeg? Then, what is your favorite?
Wow, boy. Let's see. I'm kind of like Alligator, quite a bit. That's definitely. What's the one that's? It's like a Egyptian name. Ano or Ano. Yeah. Ano. That one I like quite a bit.
Ano, Corey of Reckon, Ugadel. I'm an Oogie fan.
Yeah.
I'm an Oogie fan.
I definitely like the Ugadel several times. There's been several different batches of the Ugadels, and I want to say something around the 3rd release of that product. It was really, really good. In fact, we actually reviewed it, on a really early season of Sip, Suds, and Smokes. And I think that was the one that we had on the show. It was really funny. I had actually 2 guys on there that knew nothing about Scotch. So one of them was good old boy Jason, who's about the biggest bourbon head on the face of the free planet you can imagine. And he was sitting there going, yeah, I can really dig this. And I'm like, but you hate peat. Yeah, but it's a really good whiskey. And I go, yeah, it's a great Scotch, but thank you for playing along. So, but yeah, I think what, if anything, I like the ability for the level of quality they've been able to do across the span of those products really well. So, yeah, I think
what really got me into Scotch in general is the fact that if you think about bourbon has kind of these general flavors. You expect caramel, you expect vanilla, and you expect the oak, right? And if the bourbon doesn't have that, it's usually something way off standard. And that's just because of the high corn and the new oak cask. When you get into Scotch, you're talking for the most part about one mash bill, 100% malted barley. But they use 1,000 different kinds of barrels and combinations of barrels, and they get all of these different flavors out of it. Where while I prefer the flavor of bourbon, I love the variety in Scotch, and I think it's very interesting to me. I'm never going to drink as much Scotch as I do bourbon. I have probably 400 or 500 bottles or something in my basement, and I'm betting that I have about 12 Scotch bottles, and the rest of them are mostly.
Well, lad, if you're coming around and you're learning that they wouldn't be putting wood in the flavor, it's all about the barley, and it's about steeping the barley in deep peat, because you can't have good flavor unless you have good barley.
I don't even prefer the peated
flavor
stuff.
Doesn't come from wood. I don't know if Americans are.
I feel like I'm after Mike's Lucky Charms right now. That's what I feel like.
No. That's
Yeah.
not Irishman. No. Yeah.
Are you
That's a
sure,
Scotchman. Yeah.
Mike?
Yeah.
Thank
So
you.
I'm gonna
I
quote.
can drift in between the two seamlessly.
I'm gonna quote Greg.
Clearly.
I wonder if that's
Go
much
ahead.
different. I wonder if that's much different because I mean, it seems like nowadays, the trend with bourbon is that they're trying to finish it in different types of woods to create different flavors versus.
Well, here we go. We've got the chef in hand right here. Covering that topic. I mean, Bill, if you were to predict how many different finished barrels that you're going to go after with 4-gate, is it like 15 that you're going to go after? Is that what you're cooking with? Is that many different?
That's probably about the amount that we would use. We probably haven't used that many yet. We do have that many. We got a bunch of dark rum barrels from a place that we absolutely love. We bought a bunch of them, but we're using those in combination with other stuff. Like our next batch is 2 of these massive cognac butts that are like, I don't know, 190 liters or something like that. I mean, they're big enough for 2 of us to hide inside of. But we're blending that with a number of the same whiskey aged in dark rum barrels. So at any given time, we probably have 50 finished barrels going, but probably no more than 10 to 15 per batch.
I wish it was Captain Morgan.
Part of that is if you think about it, if we say we have 10 finished barrels, those are filled up with bourbon because we batch everything. If it was 10 bourbon barrels, they'd only be half full if they were 10 years old, at most half full. But these are full, so 53 gallons, 52 gallons in each finished barrel. So, so we tend to be smaller on the finished barrel side. We've got a number of rum barrels. We've got some PX sherry. We've got Oloroso sherry. Just some things we're kind of sitting on that we don't really want to announce yet. And we've got another split stave batch of rye coming out in the around Christmas this year. And we have a straight rye that's unfinished completely that's coming out this summer. So we're pretty excited.
Very interesting.
Oh, there goes my bonus.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so
really.
Let me plug our new T-shirt, by the way, that was identified in the last episode for Armoric, which is it's Sherry Has Big Butts. So available, at SudsandSmokes.com. Get your T-shirt now. I just want to say that we're laying claim to that as a trademark. Sherry Has Big Butts. So
We cannot lie.
Nice.
Oh, wow.
So I'm switching over to a little. This is one that was sent to me by the marketing company or the producers of it. This is the new 10 Cup Rye, aka 3-year-old Indiana rye whiskey.
Woo!
I think if you've seen the video that's on YouTube, it's
overblown.
Fine. It's fine. I mean, it's 90 proof Indiana rye. It's not the best, it's not the worst, but it's what you expect from it. And I like MGP stuff. I don't have any problem with it at all. I feel like it's a little boring if you put it out young and low proof. That's kind of my thing. I see an old Scout there.
This is just so this is I think similar to the Westport pick. It's not a pick. It's just their normal. Basically, their 5-year MGP, basically, for the most part.
I've noticed several old Scout Ryes have hit the market here recently, and it's really great to see that product come back around. It turned into way too much of a unicorn. And I talked to John Little about that. I'm like, man, why? I don't understand why you teased everybody with such really great juice from MGP. And then you ripped it off the shelf, Well, 291's the same way.
They didn't buy enough. He even admitted they didn't buy nearly enough.
I know.
Yeah. I mean, not even close. Because, those old ones, you go back even, 6-7 years ago. I've got a few of the older ones. And, it is really fantastic stuff. Then they had to switch to basically, yeah. Nice.
That's good.
Greg is also so Greg is a friend of mine, and I will also quote Greg. Here is Greg's opinion of Scotch. Are you ready? Scotch tastes like horse piss filtered through the ashes of a house fire. That is Greg's opinion of Scotch.
See, the thing is if you wear an ascot, then the Scotch will actually taste a lot better. Think of it as
because it chokes off the oxygen?
Right, that's correct. Yeah,
Okay.
it's shutting off a few of your brain cells. It's looking for vanilla and wood, and you're just left with, holy shit, this is whiskey.
So let's talk we kind of talked a little bit about the MGP stuff and the Indiana stuff. Let's talk about the new MGP, which seems to suddenly have been George Dickel. kind of out of the blue, suddenly George Dickel bourbon, Tennessee bourbon, is everywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, everywhere. I know why it's everywhere instead of in George Dickel bottles. We're not allowed to say because it's a little. We have a little NDA on that. But what do you guys think about it? So I have one opinion that I'll just throw out. You guys can disagree, agree, or just ignore it and move on.
Are you saying Dickel Rye is making its way, or just Dickel
No,
in
just
general?
bourbon. The bourbon.
Okay.
I like Dickel bourbon if it's a source bourbon, if it's the first thing I drink or the only thing I drink in the night.
Just say, hey, you had me, and I like Dickel.
Dickel. I like the beef.
I feel a new T-shirt coming on.
Right? I like Dickel. End.
So I like that stuff if it's the first thing I drink in the night or the only thing I drink in the night. But once I move on to a Kentucky bourbon or another type, I can't go back to it. It tastes weird. When I drink it first, I get tons of peanut brittle all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
If I drink anything else after it, I taste dirt.
Yep. That's a signature flavor profile for sure, a Dickel.
Yeah, no doubt.
And especially if so, 8-year Dickel is an awful lot of what most people are enjoying. I will tell you that the products that are being used at Barrel and several, I know Peg Leg Porker is using an advanced stage product, a 12-year, and there's a lot more, aged Dickel. Definitely once you get beyond, I think, that 8-year mark, I think that characteristic of the peanut brittle really tends to taper off. And I think there's a lot more complexity that really comes in, to a lot of those juice. So I spent, quite a bit of time in Nicole, Austin, over this last year. And, she's really phenomenal. I got to tell you, I mean, I've met a lot of master distillers, and I am super impressed with what she is doing with a lot of the juice that's already aged, as well as the thing that she's, going after, with, new mash bills or new products that, they're tackling at Diageo as well there. And, she's getting really quite creative. And, do I think that they're going to stick with that core taste profile? Absolutely, yes, because it is something that they have had out there, and they're going to continue to put that out there. But I would say that when you look across those other source products, I don't think you find that. I call it Planters dry roasted nuts, not peanut brittle, because it's not quite as sweet, and there's that underlying kind of salt component, or something that you would have in Planters, dry roasted peanuts. So that'd be my challenge to all of you. Next time you're trying to figure out if something is sourced from Dickel or not, have a jar of Planters dry roasted peanuts right beside you. Just pop off the top, stick your nose in that, and then taste the product. If you're picking up the tube, boom, that's Dickel all the way, for sure.
Scott, did you have the Dickel Bottle and Bond 13-year?
I've had it. Yeah. No, here's my thought. I mean, going from the old MGP to them, then sourcing from Dickel. I mean, I don't think they really tried to fool anybody. They labeled it properly to let everybody know that, that it was sourced from Dickel, and people were mad because it wasn't the original MGP and it had that flavor profile. But I guess my thought on the Dickel stuff is, It is, it's got its own profile. So if you understand what it is you're going to drink, and not try to do a natural comparison to, MGP versus Dickel, you're just going to basically argue with yourself. You just have to understand what it is that you're drinking. I mean, that the Tennessee whiskey for me, generally speaking, well, Dickel for the most part, it's always got this metallic or a mineral type of note. You know it as soon as you drink it for the most part. So.
Mm-hmm. For all those bashing Scotch, I would just throw out there Tabasco Dickel.
It's pretty good, actually.
So listen, really interesting story about that. So if you didn't know that Nicole was actually with Diageo, she was actually in Scotland. She was making Scotch right before she came over to Cascade Hollow. And it's very interesting. So when she first came to Middle Tennessee, she was spending some time with Carrie Ann Fuller and myself, and we were sitting around. We were tasting several things, and actually, that was one of the products. We were really giving her a lot of crap. We're like, "So when are you gonna take that off the shelf?" And she was like, "No." She's like, "I'm gonna. I think there's a lot of merit for that product." And it was like, "No way." And sure enough, that was the very first thing that she tackled was that product, and really changed it, turned it around quite a bit. I would, it's very difficult for people to say what's the difference between really horrible and horrible, right? But but it is something that she actually, turned it into something that was at least far more palatable than it was. And I give her some props for. She could have just sat back or just completely, discontinue the SKU or the horrible idea, but instead she actually took it to heart, and she was like, wow, this is actually a finished product. I think we can make this a lot better than it is with what we're doing here. So yeah, she really tweaked it, made it a lot better.
I give him credit for pushing the envelope a little bit. I mean, one of my issues and one of the reasons I started Forgate is
Bill, did you say Forgate Tabasco? Is that what you just said?
It's coming. No, we are all franks up in here, man. All Sriracha barrels. One of the reasons I started Forgate is because I felt like you can play around a lot more and take some more risks if you're doing very small batches. For one, there's not a whole lot of companies out there using barrels that use them in enough quantity for a big whiskey company to care about. Like, if there's 15 orange curacao gin barrels like we had for batch 2, none of the big places care about that. They're not going to use 15 barrels for anything. They need 1,500 before they'll even pick up the phone. Right. But when you're small, you can play around like that. You can be a little bit aggressive. You can be a little bit experimental, which is kind of what we want to do. We want to have fun with it. So I give them credit. I mean, that's something that I may not have actually brought to market. I may have tested that one first, but I love hot sauce and I love bourbon, and I'm going to go ahead and tell you that I've had that once, and I didn't vomit.
There you go.
Yeah, I really liked it in the Bloody Mary. I thought it was really good.
Is that a 5-star review? Quote, I didn't vomit.
I'm not saying that I liked it or disliked it at all. I'm just
Bill
saying
Straub,
suck.
Bill Straub, quote, I didn't vomit.
Oh my
we could
God.
make that a new sips rating just for you, Bill. We could make a temporary fix. This is number 2 sips rating. I did not vomit with this.
I mean,
That's pretty official right there.
Yeah, we can make that change happen.
That's the Bill Straub seal of approval.
There you go.
Another one I want to talk about. It just came out, the Larceny Small Batch Barrel Proof. Now, this is one of the older single barrels. Has everyone had a chance, or has most people had a chance to taste the Small Batch Barrel Proof, the new black label?
Yep, I have.
The
Did you guys have
A120?
a chance to taste any of these single barrels?
No, I have not had any of the single
These suck
barrel.
balls.
Yeah,
And that Small Batch Larceny is good. And I want to know why these were all so bad. I've got 2 more of them back there, and that's so good. And I don't mean by so good, I'm not saying it's one of the best whiskeys of the year, but Larceny Small Batch Barrel Proof is good, whereas this is awful.
It's solid.
Well, I think Denny left, and whoever did the sorting on that, was their medication was off. That's what I'm going to say.
Whoever picked the barrels, is that what you're saying?
I'm saying Denny left the building and left somebody holding the bags. So he said, "Wait, let's create a single barrel store pick program out of this. Wait, we have no idea what we're doing, but that doesn't matter. We're Heaven Hill. We can do this kind of stuff." Yeah. So.
What do you guys think of the? So I guess most of you have tasted the Small Batch Barrel Proof. What do you guys think of it?
I like it.
I'm personally,
but I'm a weeder, so I can say I love that stuff all day long.
Yeah, Larceny's on my. In general, the Larceny flavor profile for me is pretty high on my list anyway. It's definitely one of my. None of my just talking about small batch. I'm just talking about the brand in general. Like that's one of my gift bottles when I give one away, because it's not a ridiculously expensive bottle, so that somebody couldn't go and buy more of it if they wanted to. It's not too hard to find. So that whole flavor profile in general is something that's sort of in my affinity circle. But the small batch one is I was a pretty big fan.
It's EC light, minus 2 years. That's all it is. So same mash bill.
Yeah.
Elijah Craig's a rye mash bill.
Wait, what was that?
It's not EC light. Elijah Craig's a rye mash bill. Larceny's the wheat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's right. Ugh.
Yeah, that didn't work.
No worries.
This
No
isn't
worries.
the first one, so
I'm gonna blame it on the Japanese whiskey.
It happens. It happens.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah, that's
So,
why
yeah, so, I mean,
I kind of like lean towards more of a high rye, like more of a high rye bourbon versus a weeded. You know, that's me. I like a spicier, more bold bourbon, but
I tend to be the same way, but I do like. I tell you what, once in a while, I like when I need a weeded bourbon. There's only two that I ever kind of feel a craving for, and that was the old Heaven Hill, Old Fitzgerald Bonded, which I've got. I still got about 6 or 7 bottles up there.
I'm sorry. That's what I meant to say was OF Flight.
Yeah, I got you. I miss that a little bit, and occasionally Weller 107, the old Weller Antique. Otherwise, I don't like weeded bourbon much. But if you do like I do, and I think Craig understands that if you do like Atkins or keto and stuff, one of the very few cocktails that I can drink if I'm trying to watch my carbs is get a diet ginger beer like a Gosling's and bourbon and do a Kentucky Mule. So if you're out around a pool in the summer and you want to drink like more than a couple of different drinks, you can make one of those up and you know, you just make sure there's not enough bourbon in it to get you hammered on one. It's basically a replacement for drinking a bunch of beers. You know,
yeah.
So it's a great summer drink. And for some reason, Heaven Hill weeded bourbons, you can use the Bernheim if you want to. You can use Larceny. You can use, if you're in Kentucky, the old Fitz Prime or whatever the low end stuff is right now. It tastes phenomenal.
Yep.
Compared to everything else. I have no idea why it tastes better than Weller in there. It tastes better than Maker's Mark. It has to be the Heaven Hill with their little nuttiness thing going on. And it has to be the weeded mash bill, and it'll taste great.
Interesting. Yeah, that's always my issue with like drinking a weeded bourbon neat is just, I mean, it is one of those things. If you just want something that's soft, a little more delicate and easy to sip on, great. But there's just, you know, not very often do I like find myself going towards a weeded, you know, bourbon. But, you know, I can see where it probably would be, you know, do well in a cocktail though. You know,
yeah, it just the sweetness works with ginger beer for some reason. It just does.
Well, and that's what I really love about this Nika straight from the barrel that I'm having tonight is, you know, it has a lot of the same qualities, you know, that we're talking about here because it's really kind of creamy and soft, and even though it's just a really great, you know, daily drinker, you know, for Japanese whiskey. And you know, if this product hasn't come into your market, this is definitely something to keep on the radar because this is right in the same taste profile that we're talking about here for Larceny and the same price point. So, you know, I think that you'll find some folks that will go, wow, you know, I heard that, you know, I can get out of my bourbon rut and actually move into some Japanese whiskey that, you know, good old boy Mike talked about. So this is a good gateway, you know, choice right here. Nika straight from the barrel.
So we've had a lot of people asking basically what Brian just asked about this Weller foolproof pick, and we're going to let Craig talk about that at 55 minutes into this broadcast, which I've set a time for it.
What's our viewer count up to right now? What's the viewer count up to?
103.
103? Okay. So at 55 minutes in, not only I'm just going to prep you guys now because I don't know, you know, how far off the rails this crazy train might go now. But at 55 minutes in, not only will I discuss the Weller Foolproof, but I will discuss the Weller Foolproof topless. So just get ready for that.
So I got to go to bed right about 55 minutes into the thing. So
it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen.
Always have an exit strategy, right? That's what you need. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Did I mention at 55:01 we're ending the broadcast?
So, hey Scott, let's dial you in the conversation here. So, you know, of some of these products that we've talked about here, I mean, do you think that is a good common taste profile for a lot of people? It's a good gateway product. Is that Larceny, you know, barrel proof, or do you think they need to keep the training wheels on and step up, you know, just with either the bottle and bond product or you know, just with Bernheim alone?
Oh boy. Yeah, I think personally, I think a weeded bourbon is a great like entry to bourbon, like period. I mean, I think it takes away a little bit of that heat, a little bit of that spice, and I think it becomes very like approachable. You know, I think there's too many people who want to like always assume that let's start with like an 80 proof bourbon or something. I say, nah, you don't really need to do that.
Or high rye product. You know,
exactly.
That's going to taste like sandpaper, you know, to them right off the.
Yeah. I mean, there's just certain profiles you've got to kind of stay away from. And I mean, I think you know, even if you're at like, you know, like Bill said before, like a good, like, you know, like Larceny. I mean, it's a good, I mean, it offers a lot from the standpoint of if you're looking for something that's got a lot of those just like soft, like kind of bourbon notes, you know. So anybody who, you know, and if you want to mix it in a cocktail, it's easy to do. You know, I don't know that Nika. I mean, I think here are my thoughts on malted barley. For me, the reason I steered away from Scotch and a little bit of the Japanese stuff was, to me, malted barley is such a dominant grain, a lot like rye whiskey can be. So it can be very, you can either like shock somebody with it, you know, or if somebody kind of understands maybe what it is they're going to taste. That's just my thought. Cause I mean, I struggle with Scotch from that standpoint because it's such a dominant grain to me. So, you know, that's just me. But I mean, going back to like weeded whiskeys, I mean, I think Larceny, things along those lines, they're great. They're great, like kind of gateway bourbon entry bourbon. So
I don't get why Heaven Hill did that, you know, with that product. You know, I just with all the changes they made to the OF line, and you know, changing things up and making a lot of those, you know, at cast strength or barrel proof. I don't understand why they felt the need to come out with a barrel proof, you know, product, you know, with Larceny. I don't get that. I'm
going to take some responsibility for this. I have none, but I put a bug in the ear of the marketing guy that we talked with forever. It just kind of
let me write that down. Blame Bill.
I was sitting there and he asked, "What would you
like rule in my house?" So whatever.
Yeah, where's that button?
Well, he basically said, "What can we do that's not like, you know, a $30 bottle? What can we do that's interesting and fun?" And the thing that I suggested, and I talked about this on our last cast, so I won't get too far into it. I said, why don't you do a barrel proof collection? Because you already do the Elijah Craig. So the next one you should do should be a rye. So do a Rittenhouse. They hadn't even, I don't even think they had introduced the Pikesville at the time, but I said, do a rye barrel proof. And then after that, do a Bernheim barrel proof, and then do an Old Forester barrel proof or a Larceny barrel proof. And you can sell them as a package in 375s if you want to around Christmas, or just call it your barrel proof collection. And you'd be the only people doing it with that many different mash bills. And they thought it was a great idea. I wound up talking to someone else in their marketing a little higher up.
Isn't that the same thing as the Beam small batch collection?
It's not barrel proof. Only one is barrel proof. There's no weeded whiskey in there. There's no rye in there.
Baker's
is not weeded whiskey or rye.
Well, plus, you know, admit it. Like you throw barrel proof on just about any bourbon nowadays, people are going to go crazy for it. You know, they're going to want it.
Timothy Van Riper from Modern Thirst has joined the chat. Welcome, Timothy. So I enjoy it, and I'm still on the bandwagon of you know, I think they missed the boat on the Parker's Heritage this year on the rye. I thought that did not. I'm not a huge fan of that.
I moved on to the big boy stuff, so you know. But
they should do a burn. I mean, they did the weeded whiskey Parkers a few years ago that I thought was the best Parkers they've done since Promise of Hope, and they need to do that. They need to do a 7-year Bernheim barrel proof all the time. I mean, they ought to put that out every year, because that mash bill is pretty thin and one-dimensional at 90, 92 or whatever it is that they sell Bernheim at, and it's pretty damn amazing at 11 years in barrel proof. So at 7 years barrel proof, probably pretty good stuff.
And that's 100% wheat, right? That's a wheat.
No, it's a 51% wheat. It's a barely wheat.
So the Bernheim's only 51% wheat?
Yeah.
Really?
You take a rye, but switch.
Oh wait, no, why? Bernheim is 100% wheat.
No, 51%. Sure?
I
thought it was 100% wheat.
I thought the Bernheim. I thought that was 100% wheat.
I'm pretty sure.
I thought so also.
I'm telling you, it's on their website. And I had an argument with a reader one time, and I actually got them involved from Heaven Hill in an email chain.
Huh. Okay.
It was about this, and then about the rye mash bills between the Rittenhouse and Pikesville. They were saying it was a different mash bill for Pikesville than Rittenhouse, and it's not.
Huh.
But anyway, someone has been admiring your glass, Craig. Unless we're talking about Old Blue.
Oh, the blind tasting glass? Yes.
It's literally
No. This is the cool glass.
Craig's like the Vanna white.
Oh no! You gotta check this thing out. Look at this! Look at this thing. This is awesome glass.
Wow, look at that.
You guys have not seen. So these are. Look, you can only get these in one place in the U.S. at Distillers.
Once you go Black Glencairn, you never go back.
Yeah. So
we're up to 100. All right. Let me cut everybody off because we're up to 151 viewers all of a sudden because I'm sure that everyone
it's
is
full proof
waiting
time.
for Craig.
There you go. You got the two glass. There you go.
All right, Craig, tell us about Weller Full Proof. Oh, here we go.
Oh, dear God.
Hold on now.
I just heard half our audience just click leave.
We're at 155 now.
300.
Oh.
Facebook is going to shut us down, man.
Oh my goodness.
Now we're down to 6 viewers.
This is what happens. This is what happens when you bring the tater of taters on.
I thought your wife was there somewhere to prevent such madness from happening.
He's wearing her thong.
I'm like the Howard Stern of bourbon, if you will. There you go.
The viewers spiked by 50.
So, Craig, when did you lose your virginity? At 8 or 9? I could be a shock jock.
I'll never tell.
All right, man.
When was the first game you had Jim Beam Black? Tell us.
My name is Brian. Says this is what we call Fuller proof.
All right, Craig, tell us what's going on there.
All right, so Hounds, we got actually a couple private barrels coming out, but the one everybody's been blowing up my PMs about has been the Weller Full Proof. I've gotten more Facebook friends than I've ever thought I would have once we announced we were doing this. So the Weller Full Proof pick is finally in. It's at the distributor. It will be in the store next week. So initially we were going to make it a big, first come, first serve, camp your ass out sort of release. And so in talking with the store, it was thought that wouldn't be very prudent in the current environment. So, so we are working on trying to determine exactly how the release will happen. There may be some sort of drive-through pickup involved. But at this point, we're planning it out. And I think all the Hounds know that I will do it in a.
Is clothing optional while you're picking it up?
Clothing is optional. And do I need to prove that I'm going commando right now? Because I totally will.
We believe you. We believe you.
So
we saw her earlier. We need to call her now.
So anyhow, I think everyone knows I will do it in a manner that is fair. We'll probably limit it to 1 bottle per pound. So, okay.
No!
So, also we which is going to totally get blown by the wayside, but we do have a Hound's new riff pick out, and it is for a Hound that we did a fundraiser for last year. We raised about $10,000 for him and his family. It was a Hound that succumbed to pancreatic cancer. David Broadfuhrer was his name, and so we're doing a new riff tribute bottle for him. It is in. We are working on some awesomely taterific stickers for both barrels. So the Full Proof bottle will have a outbreak / pandemic themed tater sticker. So everybody's going to want to tater up on that. But anyhow, the New Riff bottle will benefit St. Jude's. So I would ask that Hounds tater up on that as well, so we can make a nice donation to St. Jude's. And then also, Chase Hazelbaker has generously offered, and I know he's probably just pooping himself right now that I said his name. But anyhow, he has generously offered another MGP barrel for Hounds, high rye MGP. Wow. So we're killing it. We've got a lot of private barrels, and I'm happy to offer that to everybody. Good things are happening. So hopefully the shirtlessness has not completely derailed the podcast, the live stream too much.
Oh, yes.
But, it is what it is at this point. So,
Jonathan.
It's kind of cold in the basement here. It's a little hard. It's kind of cold. So, anyhow, that is what's up. More. Everybody stay tuned in Hounds. Forms will start popping up for how folks can start grabbing their Weller Full Proofs. I know everybody's been waiting for that. So
how do our people who aren't in Louisville who are actually members of this cast get a bottle of that? Say, for them.
Put something in my inbox. we'll
like
work
strawberry or pina.
That's not code, right?
We'll work something out. Yeah.
I got a good discount on pina colada.
We hit 180 there.
Send nudes. That's how that happens.
I just want to say we hit 180 there at one point, Craig.
You're welcome. You're welcome, sir.
Is that your wife or your uncle? Yes.
Awesome. Well, guys, I want to thank everybody for being here tonight. We've reached an hour, and we don't want to go too much longer. So I'm going to go ahead and let everyone say bye and plug you where you guys are on social media so everybody can find you. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. This was a lot of fun, and hopefully we can do it again sometime. March 25th, if you want to check us out on the Sips, Suds, and Smokes channel, I'll be there with a number of other folks from different outlets as well, too. So, Scott, where can we find you?
Yeah, Bill, thanks for having me on, guys. I appreciate it. It was some good humorous conversation. There's no doubt about that. So, my name is Scott from My Bourbon Journey. So my YouTube channel basically do reviews of bourbons, ryes, American-style whiskeys for the most part there. So, go check it out if that's of interest to you guys. So, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Wes at Modern Thirst on Twitter and Wes_modern_thirst on Instagram.
Awesome. Craig, shirtless one.
The Craig Anthony on Louisville Bourbon Hounds, and then on Insta I am at Best Bourbon Life, and on Twitter I am also at Best Bourbon Life.
Other Bill.
You can easily find me at ModernThirst.com. I'm pretty sure that we have a general mailbox, and that's pretty much it for me.
And good old boy Mike.
Hey, it was great joining you guys for this video cast tonight. You can find us all over the place, SipSudsAndSmokes.com or any radio station, satellite, or in 6 other countries. So you can definitely find us for sure. Hey, like Bill said, next Wednesday on the 25th, we're actually having another video cast with another group of bourbon media, and it's going to be a lot of fun. We got some folks from Breaking Bourbon. We have Carrie Ann from Straight Up 615 is going to join us. Bill will be there. Fred's going to be there. So we're going to have some fun with Mr. Schminik. I'm sorry.
Can we have a Who Wears the Best Ascot contest?
It's me, yes. So please use my hashtag. I wore it better. That's all I have to say. So for sure. Awesome. Hey, for now, I look forward to seeing you guys later. I'm going to ask you to keep on sipping.
Awesome. And I think that's everybody. I am Bill Straub, ModernThirst.com. This is our Sipping Through Social Isolation. We're trying to give you guys something else to do other than watch the horrible news. And sorry we talked so much about coronavirus today, but it's on everybody's mind. We're going to be your alternative to ESPN on occasion throughout this whole national self-isolation thing.
This is much better March Madness.
Well, we're your March Madness. You get the booby prize there on. Sorry,
actually, I get the booby prize. Thank you very much.
But we're going to try to do this, once, twice, a few times a week as the mood strikes us, and if we have time, just get together, have everybody have a chance to chat and sip some stuff and get our minds off of everything. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Thanks everybody who's been in the chat today. We sold a number of the Modern Thirst coins, so that's awesome. Thank you guys so much. We don't have a ton of them left. As soon as they're done, we'll have a drawing. And another thing we're going to do is Modern Thirst receives samples of whiskeys to rate. I'm going to take as we go. I'm just going to draw random numbers from those coins and send a 2-ounce sample of those to our readers. Good or bad, you're going to get a chance to taste them. So if you have a coin, that is your chance. They're number 1 through 100, and I keep track of everyone's number and email address when they're mailed out. So I'll know who it is. I'll draw the number, and if your number gets drawn, I'm going to announce it on a YouTube show, and I'll send it to you, whether you're on it or not. So thanks a lot, everybody. Stay safe. Wash your hands. Do the smart stuff, and
don't touch your face.